Welcome here on the Reflector podcast. This is a place of sharing where we widen our horizon and embrace together the beauty, the magic, and the mystery of life. It is a space where we can go deeper into the unknown and become the change we want to see in this world. This podcast is an invitation to embark on a journey of self-discovery and embody fully in all ourselves what it truly means to be human. Thank you very much for being here. Thank you for listening. Let's dive together. Welcome everybody, Satnam. Very happy to be with you in this new episode of the Reflector podcast. And today I wanted to share a little more about numerology, and especially I want to talk about the number 11. And in other episodes, we'll talk about this system of numerology that I work with and through which I give consultations and that I really like because it's based on a holistic view of the human being through we call the 10-body system. And I want to go deeper into that in other episodes because it is very rich. At the same time, it's quite simple. It's very rich, very deep, and you can go with your date of birth very fast to the root of the soul journey and some of the challenges and how to make your obstacles or challenges resources. So it's a system that I love. That's why I work with it. But today I want to talk just about the number 11. And I chose that in the beginning of the Reflector podcast because number 11 has a specific quality of reflection. You see, 1 and 1 is a mirror. 11 is when you see yourself clearly in the mirror. And this is why I want to share that, because the quality of number 11 is very linked to the quality of energy and the approach I want to have in this podcast. So mainly when we talk about number 11, it has to do with mastery, because the cycle of life, you could say the cycle of spiritual awakening, every cycle of life basically start with the 1 and then it ends somehow with the 9, because 9 is the higher number. If you go then to 10, that would be 1 plus 0, it's another 1. So the cycle somehow starts again with a 10. So from 1 to 9, you have a cycle of mastery. And what happens is number 10 will be the integration, of the cycle. Okay, you come back to the 1, and you have you can welcome the new energy that comes from having done the experience to go from 1 to 9. Okay, that's the 0 in the 10. And when we come to 11, it's really, we have the 1 facing the 1. So it's like the light of the soul seeing herself very clearly in the mirror. So in very simple terms, you could say this is God and me and God are one. Okay, number 11, it has this when we call mastery, is that we come back again to a new cycle of the 1, but with the experience of the wisdom extracted from what we have learned from the previous cycle. So this is what we call mastery, is when we can come back to a very normal, simple, embodied life, but with a higher tuned awareness. This is mastery. Mastery is not to be high in the clouds, beyond incarnation, completely impersonal. Is to come back to the body, to the density, to the heaviness somehow also of life, but also to its simplicity, that you realize you cannot ever be separated from your own self. That's somehow we could say the highest teachings of spirituality, is that if you have a deepest experience of yourself, you realize you're always connected, and it's not possible that we are not connected to the one. So the idea of number 11 has to do with coming back into an embodied awareness, and from this memory of where we come from, who we really are deep in ourselves, welcome the duality of the world, because 1 plus 1 is a 2. Okay, so now I'm talking about number 11 really from his positive side, mastery side, okay? But I will talk later about the negative side of it. But positive side is I embrace duality from a space of inner knowing, deepest in my heart. And that's mastery, because then you can welcome your own duality and the duality of the world from a place of remembrance. Number 11 is very connected, what we call in yoga Simran, the remembrance of who we really are. And number 11, as it is 1 plus 1, 2, 2 is the number of relationship. So when we enter in relationship with the remembrance of who we are, then every opportunity, every interaction, every communication is a communication with a part of ourselves. We realize that whoever we meet is a part of us. So we are connected to the well-being, the wish of the well-being of everyone, because it's part of us. So 11 in its mastery side is, I welcome you as a part of me. And I really love you, not because I really love you because you're not separate from me. So I cannot even wish separation from you, because that would mean separation from me. So number 11 is a deep number of relationship, but integrated relationship. That means the capacity when we are in relation with somebody to recognize where in our magnetic field the interaction, the relationship hits us, where it's bringing us a quality of energy that can be actualized. And when we do that through that awareness and we welcome the relationship and we allow it to affect us, it has a very, very deep healing effect on the other side of the relationship, the person we are in relationship with. Because the person will feel seen, will feel heard, will feel relaxed. The person will feel that she's understood. And when we start to relax, when the nervous system starts to relax, then this is what we call healing, because then what was stuck, what was tight, start to loosen up, and the energy start to transmute. They change form, they change place in our body. So number 11 in its mastery side is a very healing number. Through interaction and just our own presence, then we can heal somebody. If we are in a state of remembrance of who we deeply are, and we welcome the relationship, the impact of the relationship in our own integrated field, then the other person will feel integrated, and any sense of separation, discontinuity she will feel in the field will start to be, the energy that is stuck and stagnant will start to move, and the nadis will start to run and flow a new energy into them. The flow will happen in a very smooth and natural, spontaneous manner. So number 11 has to do with remembrance and what we call also sahaj, spontaneity, something that feels natural. When we embody the quality of this number, everything feels natural. So that's on the highest perspective. You remember, you feel secure, deeply, deeply secure, because you grounded your security in your deepest self. So when you know you're home already, and you cannot be ever away from home, then all all the insecurities that you find on the material plane, then you can start to welcome them from a deeper place of relaxation. So that doesn't mean everything is settled on your spiritual, on your material plane, or everything is smooth. But you can welcome whatever tribulation or whatever challenge come from a place of relaxation. So it creates easily new opportunities. You change your perspective very easily when the number 11 is active in yourself, and on the positive side, you can adapt very, very easily. You can very much adapt. And on the negative side, 1 plus 1 again is 2. So what happens is, before we can master 11, so we have the mastery of the number 11, it will manifest as a negative mind, because number 2 is negative mind. So when I say negative mind, that doesn't mean that you always have negative thoughts or you're always negative. This is not the negative mind. Negative mind is polarity with the positive mind. And both of them, they represent the polarity of the mind. That the negative mind is the protective mind, where the positive mind is the projective mind, or the one who sees resources and possibilities. That is the one who said to go for action. And the negative mind will be the one who assesses the risks of a given situation. So it's a very positive mind, okay, also. You see, it's not negative in the sense of negative thoughts. It's negative in the sense that it protects you. It protects you from dangers, from over-risking yourself and putting yourself in a position that will threaten your life. Actually, the negative mind is the one protecting the soul on its journey on earth. So if we were only in the soul perspective, from the one, everything is fine. So we wouldn't have any problem with death, dying, or being hurt or suffering. This would not be an issue, because we would be just in the one. So if there is the red light and the car is going, you don't care. If your life is short, long, it doesn't matter from the point of view of the soul. So the negative one, what he's doing is protecting the life of the physical body also, so that the soul can have an experience in this body for long enough. So it deals a lot with survival. Before we can have the negative mind in his resource aspects, then usually we have it as a survival mind that is always trying to convince us not to go for anything that is uncomfortable. And that's why number 11, so why I talk about number 11, you can recognize yourself. Maybe you have it in your chart, you're born in 11, or you're born, for example, 2011, number 11 is present in your life. Number 11 can be present in your life also. Maybe you see, mirror timings, on your computer, on your phone, you see 1111, or you see many 11s in your life. That means that this number is teaching you something, the vibration of this number, because numbers are like beings. They are part of the backbone of creation and the main archetype energies that build the whole world. So when a number is very present in our life, that means his energy is trying to teach us something somehow, that we are in a process of learning something from the quality of this number. So before it can happen as a 1111, it will happen as number 2. So if you already have somebody who is very fearful, that sees the world usually as a threat, as something that is challenging, if you have a lot of fears, repressed emotions, this kind of things, usually number 11 will appear as a number 2. That means separation. Because there is, in the shape of the number 11, there is a sense of separation. So what happens is when it happens in a sense of separation as number 2, you have the rigidity also of the number 1 that is there. So you're stiff in your muscles, you're stiff in your bones, these kind of things, a lot of stiffiness. And on the positive side, 11 is somehow you create a channel for energy to flow, because it's in between the two ones. There is like a pipe, a channel. But on the negative side, it's like you're so much into your one, into your individuality, into your ego, that you have no sense of relationship. You never really meet the other one because you're so much entangled into your own traumas, your own fears, your own limitations, your own shortcomings, your own stickiness, that it's very difficult to meet others. There is no room, there is no availability, no capacity to listen, to open within yourself, to welcome the information of something else or someone else. So it's like you're already full of yourself. So on a basic side, it's okay, you're completely identified with survival. But on a more let's say subtle side, it can manifest as spiritual ego. That means you will have to, if you're already full of yourself and your emotions are not flowing and there is no room to welcome new information, then you will need at some point to justify your rigidity and the fact that you are closed in yourself. So you will find very clever strategies to rationalize, intellectualize the repression of the emotions, and to justify to others that your life is nice, that your life is okay, that you feel good. So on the negative side, 11 can manifest as a sense of superiority complex. Of course, because these are two polarities, superiority complex and inferiority complex. They are two sides of the same coin. So it might manifest as you as an hypertrophy of the ego, that the ego is too big and you always try to push people down, or it's sometimes the other one is like you feel always very small. So the number 11 is always this connection between the little I and the big I. So it has to do with individuality, but it's really the little self of the ego and the higher self of the great spirit, how those two are communicating, how those two are relating with each other. And so that will be either you deny completely your spiritual life, or on the other way, it can be also that from a spiritual perspective or spiritual teachings, you completely deny your human experience, the experience of the little self also. Because you could say the human is actually the one, this capacity in us to welcome the higher spirit and the small one of the ego, the individuality and the personality together. That's what being human is that we have this capacity to welcome paradox, dichotomy, duality. We have this capacity as humans to welcome polarities. And this is the main teaching of the number 11, and that's why I love it so much, and I think this number is so important to understand these qualities in the specific age that we are in. Because we are in a transition of the age. We come from Piscean age, and I will go more into other episodes into that, but we are going from a Piscean age, the constellation of Pisces, going to the constellation of Aquarius. And so we are going somehow into the influence of the magnetic field of the constellation. We are going backwards into the cycle of the zodiac. So the Piscean age, the Pisces is a sign of universality. It's the last sign. It's the 12th sign of the zodiac. It's the end of the journey somehow. So it's the sign when you come back to oneness. And this is what happened somehow in humanity in the last 2000 years, is like we were brought together through the monotheistic religions. That's what happened, in the last 2,000 years. What brought us together was the idea, the dogmas of the religions. So it manifested it's not that we went as one as a spiritual self, but that would be the perfect somehow positive side of the Pisces. But we had the energy. As we were influenced by the Pisces energy, we were brought together, not so much out of territory, but more into spiritual ideas. That's how we were impacted by the Piscean age. And it's like the main authority became the religion. So we had also the wars of religion. We made war, not even be country against country. We made wars trying to convince people to embrace the beliefs of the religion. So it was really like the spiritual bringing us together. But it was made through ideas, through dogmas, through beliefs. And what happens is, so it went through a kind of hierarchy and patriarchal system that we were brought together like a pyramid through the main ideas of religions. And what happens now in the Aquarius is air element. And so we come from the water. What Pisces was about water. And now we come into air element. So it has to do with what happens when we get out of the womb, which is watery, to breathe the air of the outside. When we get out of the womb of our mothers, and then we breathe first the air, and we are on our own when we start to breathe the air. We are not anymore connected to the watery protection of the mother that protects us from the magnetic field of the planets. We are, with the first breath, we are impacted with thousands of information from the magnetic fields of all the surroundings, and specifically the surroundings of the planets in the specific way they are aligned on our birth. This will imprint us with a specific energy. And what happens is Aquarian age is the recognition of the subtle connection we have. We will start to perceive the world through the connection with the magnetic field. Like a little bit like some animals, they have they relate to sound, not so much to the sight, but to the sound. Like they produce a sound wave and they recognize, like a sonar, how much the sine waves is getting feedback. Then you know where you are. And this is the system of relation we will have in the Aquarian age. Is we will have a system of functioning through the magnetic field, like we are a radio station, a radio wave, and we always interact with other beings with a specific frequency of radio waves. And we will have this capacity through the magnetic field to recognize that and to navigate through life from that perspective. And the main change from the Piscean age is we were functioning through belief. So the knowledge would come from reading, studying, listening to other people who had knowledge, and a deep study. It was a lot of intellect, understanding. And now we come into an age of direct experience through the magnetic field. So it's like the way we function is changing. So to make it simple, we went from like the birth of Christ to 2000 almost. It was you could say the Piscean age. And now from 2000 to 4000 would be the Aquarian age, let's say roughly, very roughly. But there will be a transition, like 200 years of transition. No? So we are completely in the middle of this transition now, in the change of the millennia. So you could say the Aquarian age is already there on the spiritual plane. We are already affected by its energies, like what happened in the 60s, in the Woodstock movement, all this kind. The hippies was already the liberation from the old dogmas of the Piscean age. It was the first, let's say, social turns that made the Aquarian energies visible in the planet. But now it will take another 100 years, 100 years at least, so we can really function and live and have a society that is based on those Aquarian values. So it will take time. But how we can do that, because we are in between the age, is to embody the qualities of number 11. Because as we are in between ages, we are in a space of separation, dichotomy, in a space where we need to hold paradox. That if we stick to one perception of the truth, then we completely limit our experience of the human life. And the only capacity we have to give birth to this new area of humanity, new phase of life, is to integrate within ourselves the old age and all the memory of the old functioning. That's how we'll make room within ourselves for the new values to come down and to manifest. And this is number 11, that we can integrate a paradox. That yes, we are already fully realized, infinite human beings. This is who we are. On the deepest level, everything is one. We are all connected, and there is only one soul having multiple experiences. So Great Spirit is one, we are one, and we are always connected to that. That's somehow deepest truth. But we are also separated human beings with a limited mind, a limited scope of action, a limited time on this earth, a lot of neurosis, a lot of unprocessed stuff, a lot of emotions that are stuck, that we don't know what to do with, a lot of limitation that came from our education, that came from the blood that is flowing in our veins and all the ancestors that could not process those emotions, and that we are the result of somehow, that we are the new version of them trying to process what they could not process. We are full of that, and that makes us very limited in time and space. That gives us a personality, an ego, a limited version of life, a scope, a view, a specific viewpoint on life. And these two are real. These two, there's not like one is the illusion and the other one is real. No. It's true that we are infinite, and it's also true that we are purely finite and limited. Both are true. How can we handle this idea that we are unlimited and limited at the same time? Then this we can do by how we are impacted by our day-to-day life. This can be made very simple by accepting that in some areas of our life, for example, we are a very generous person. We are bountiful, we can give very easily. And maybe in some other relation, we are very greedy. And if we start to repress the greediness or hide the greediness of ourselves because we are generous, and we start to convince people that we are a generous person to hide the greediness, then the dichotomy, the paradox cannot exist within ourselves. And then there's a whole part of our personality, and which is part of our human experience, which is also part of our nervous system, which is also a part of our brain, that will still stay sleepy. That will not be awakened. So the idea is, whenever we are, okay, I'm a generous person, but I'm also a greedy person. Okay? I can be a very nice person, but if I am a nice person, that doesn't mean there is also bad parts within me, like very raw, wild, angry, mean parts within myself. And if I always in my life try to be the good one and convince everybody that I am a good person, then there is half of life that I don't allow myself to experience. And that's terrible. That limits the scope of my reality so much. That limits the scope of my relationship in a huge way. So the simple way to integrate the energy of this number 11 is to realize, okay, this is not because I like this. Like, for example, it's not because I like Chinese food and I'm a Chinese food lover, that when I like to eat pizza sometimes, that I'm not anymore a Chinese food lover. No, I'm also an Italian food lover, and that doesn't diminish the Chinese food lover that I am. That just add to the scope of my human experience. That just add to the scope of my life, and that can make my personality not so much like a rigid, strict sense of security, like I am this. No, I can always have a personality that is evolving, changing, like more smooth, more transmutable. I can always add some new aspects. And this is very important for me. And this is, for me, the purpose of this podcast. That's what I wanted to spend some times with number 11, because we are in between the age, and we are in an age where there is so much possibilities, because the maximum possibilities come when you go in nature. The maximum possibilities in the biosystems, the ecosystems, is when you are in between systems. If you have you have the cows and the grass, the fields, and you have the forest, like two different systems, the highest possibility will be in between, when the forest is starting but it's not yet established. That's when you have the maximum productivity, the maximum potential. So now, in between ages, we have maximum potential of learning, of experiencing, of enjoying life. So it's when I say potential, it's a potential of enjoyment. But it's also a potential of being overwhelmed by everything that happens in my life. It's a possibility to be completely underwater and drawn with the huge amount of information that is everywhere. And that is number 11. Number 11, when I said, is either the ego is too much or too low, this will be the tendency. And with number 11, we can learn to ride the wave. Ride the wave of change. Realize that we are always changing. We are always giving birth to a new part of ourselves. Soul is not always never completely incarnated. It's in the process of incarnation all the time. That's when material part of us and spiritual part of us, they are always dancing together, and we are in a state of somehow constant rebirth. So it's never static. So number 11, in its negative side, we will make everything static and put everything in boxes. We need boxes. On its positive side, we can always ride the wave and reinvent ourselves along the way all the time. Every relation, every interaction is a new way to discover a new part of us. So this is why I wanted to, it's many subjects, but we will dive much deeper in all those subjects separately, and we will have an opportunity to explain deeper many things that I have shared in this episode. And don't hesitate to ask questions, because if you have specific questions, that can make a very nice subject for a next episode. And this is why how I would like to work with you, is that we interact with each other, and you have specific questions, up we go, because that's create the magnetic field. That's number 11. One-on-one meeting is like, okay, question and answer, there are two parts of the same magnetic field. If you ask a question, then I will have the energy directly for the answer, and I want to work this way. So please share in the comments. Please share. Contact me. Ask questions. Give me your opinion, your resonance, how you resonate with what I just said, and let's go on with that. I'm very happy. See you for the next episode. Bye bye. Satnam.